Okay, so hi, it's been 2 months. I forgot to film and edit one video, but we're back. And this is KG Literature Club. Yes! Yo, like I haven't done this in a while, and it feels so weird being in front of the camera. But it's okay, we're dealing with this. Okay, so space. I absolutely love books about space because there's just so many things that can possibly happen in a science fiction book. There's no boundaries and everything is possible. And I just really appreciate that about science fiction books. So that's why today I picked out 2 books about space that I very much enjoyed. And I think one of them is very popular, so I think everybody already knows about it. But I clearly don't do my research, so I'm just gonna talk about it as if nobody knows about it. So enjoy. Okay, so the first book is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and this is in Russian, my apologies. But it's by Douglas Adams. It's an English author, and this is the book that everybody has probably heard about, but it's very funny, so I'm just gonna talk about it because I like it a lot. And look, I'll be honest here, I actually don't remember much of what happened in this book because I read it last year, and I read it so fast I didn't even have time to like take it in. I do remember how everything starts though. There is this guy, Arthur, and he's your typical Earth guy. By the way, he never knows anything, so he has all the other characters explain stuff to him all throughout the book. So I think the story starts when the Earth explodes and Arthur gets saved by his alien friend, and they eventually end up out in space, and they get saved by a ship, and this ship has a specific mission within the universe, and that's where the story starts kicking in. Of course, this description is very, very vague, but there's actually so much going on in the story, and I can't remember half of it. So we're just gonna stick with this summary kind of thing. The main point of this book is that it's chaotic and absurd. That's like the main thing of this book. What I liked about this particular book is the humor. So any type of negative situation just gets turned into a joke, and I really appreciate that in a novel because, you know, you can't just have depressing stuff all the time. And I really appreciate the fact that they turn all of these negative events into a silly joke. At a certain point, you can completely miss the point of the book and still have a very good time just laughing at the jokes. There is this one character in the book, a robot named Marvin, and he's depressed, which is a matter that should not be joked about. But this guy provides some of the finest humor in the entire book, and I really appreciate his entire existence because some of his lines are just priceless, and I adore that very much because he just makes the book so funny. Like, his character is what drives the book for me, at least. Overall, this book is chaotic, and chaotic in a good sense because so many things happen and they're just absurd. There are so many scenarios that I have no idea how a person would even think of, but here we are, you know? This book is a written masterpiece. I love it. So this book is a solid 10 out of 10 for me because it's just genius. I love it. It's funny. It's scientific. All I could possibly ask for from a book. It's great. So in conclusion, it's amazing. I kind of want to reread it again because it's just so good. So I definitely recommend it. It's a good read. Honestly, I'm not sure what grade level this is at because I've spoken to people that like read it in like 3rd grade, but I read it when I was in 10th grade. I enjoyed it regardless, so honestly, go at it, you know? So the second book is Solaris. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right, but it's Solaris, I guess. I'll just call it that. And although it's about space, like The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Solaris is a bit more boring. I'll just say it. It's kind of a little boring. But despite the fact that it's kind of boring, there's a lot of food for thought, and I really appreciated the book for that. And the plot consists of Kelvin, an Earth guy, being sent to a planet Solaris to conduct research. And a little bit of context here, Solaris is a planet that is covered with a living ocean, which is why humans are trying to establish contact with it, but they fail continuously. So this is why Kelvin is sent to this planet to conduct more research. And so when Kelvin gets to the planet, things get a little kind of weird. He starts seeing his ex-girlfriend who took her life years ago. So he technically shouldn't be seeing her because she is dead. But not only does he see her, she's actually physically there. And anytime he tries to get rid of her, she keeps coming back. And basically the whole premise of the scenario is that this entity, or whatever it is the way the ocean communicates with Kelvin. And this is the way of the planet to establish contact with the humans that are on it. So considering the setting and how the characters are constantly isolated and are just on their own in their rooms, this kind of scenario is utterly terrifying because you're just one-on-one with a trauma of yours, essentially. But at the same time, it's also extremely interesting to consider how that kind of scenario would affect a person on a deeper emotional level, you know? But then you also consider the questions as to why did the ocean choose to communicate with them in this way? So it's really interesting and it just keeps you wondering throughout the whole book. But other than that, Solaris is kind of like a book within a book. There are a lot of scientific explanations of what is known about Solaris, and Kelvin keeps reading scientific journals within the book. And to be quite honest, those parts are really boring because it's just a lot of scientific vocabulary about stuff that is not that interesting in comparison to his situation on the planet. So I did not enjoy those parts and I kind of zoned out on most of them. So that's what made the book a little redundant for me. But as I said, the whole concept of Kelvin facing a loved one which has passed away is very fascinating to me, and I find that really interesting. And it becomes even more interesting when that entity of his ex-girlfriend starts being self-aware. That's where it gets extremely interesting for me, despite all the boring scientific explanations. So this book would get a solid 6 out of 10 for me. I really love the idea. It's great. I really do love it. But I'm just not really into the 2-for-1 special with the scientific textbook included. But other than that, it's a great book. I recommend it despite it's kind of like lower rating. It's still good. I love it. It's a great book. And I can't find it at home, so I can't really show it. But here we are. So anyway, thank you for tuning in to my episode about space books. I'm kind of not doing great with reading these days because I have a lot of work to do, but I'm currently reading 2 books at the same time, and I'm not doing too great with those because they're philosophy books and I'm not really into those kind of books. But when I do finish them, I'll probably make a separate video about them, so maybe next month. Philosophy.